Joe Montana was the epitome of a winner, always at his best when the stakes were the highest. He had a perfect 4-0 record in the Super Bowl. He had the greatest playoff run in NFL history. And you don't just get the nickname Joe Cool. So how good was Joe Montana actually? To understand how good he was, we need to go back to the beginning in western Pennsylvania, the home of legendary quarterbacks like Johnny Unitas, Joe Namath, Dan Marino, and Jim Kelly. Montana grew up 30 miles south of Pittsburgh in the working-class town of Monongahela. He attended Ringgold High School in Carroll Township, where, in his junior year, he was named the starting varsity QB. And right away, he showed off his golden arm. Joe was a three-sport star at Ringgold, but it was football where he really separated himself, and it was his ability as a quarterback that had college scouts coming out in droves. After being recruited by many national powerhouse schools, he committed to Notre Dame because Montana's favorite player was Terry Hanratty, a local guy who played quarterback for the Steelers and the Fighting Irish. But when Montana got to South Bend, he had to wait his turn. He didn't see the field in his first season because Irish coach Ara Parsegian had a rule against playing freshmen. So Montana's first game experience came in his second season, and that's where his history of comebacks began. As a sophomore in 1975, he rallied the Irish past North Carolina and Air Force on the road in back-to-back weeks. But that was just a glimpse of what was to come for Montana. He still had much to learn, and he was nowhere close to being a star. Then his career took a dramatic turn. In 1976, Montana missed the entire season with a separated shoulder. While he was recovering, he had to earn the trust of his new coach, Dan Devine, and that didn't happen right away. At the start of the 1977 season, he was the third string on the depth chart. Coach Devine would say that Montana hadn't been medically cleared.
Notre Dame quarterback Joe Montana was hit on that first sequence. He suffered a possible hyperextension of his right knee.
But Joe wasn't buying that explanation. Luckily, Montana was fully healthy for the Irish's Week 3 game against Purdue, because after benching one QB and losing another to an injury, a desperate Devine gave Joe another chance. And in true Joe Cool fashion, he never looked back. Led by their junior QB, Notre Dame erased a 10-point deficit in the fourth quarter and won 31-24. From that point on, Notre Dame was a juggernaut. The Irish won their final 10 games to go 11-1, and after blowing out Texas in the Cotton Bowl, they were voted Associated Press national champions. And during Montana's final year at Notre Dame, he cemented himself as a legend. In the 1978 season, he added comebacks against Pitt and USC to his belt, and then in his final collegiate game, he took it to another level. On New Year's Day, Montana was back in the Cotton Bowl, but he was battling an illness that forced him to leave the game. In the fourth quarter, Notre Dame trailed 34-12. They needed Montana to get back on the field and get hot. But they don't call him Joe Cool for nothing, so you can probably guess how this story ends. He led 3 touchdown drives in the final 7.5 minutes, and on the game's final play, he found Chris Haynes in the end zone